Welcome to The Thriving Mama, the podcast that teaches you not just how to survive, but to thrive in motherhood. I'm your host, Dr. Stephanie Davis. Today, we're going to be talking about how beliefs can be very sneaky and powerful. I'm going to be very vulnerable and share an experience that I had 2 weeks ago at a retreat in Canada. And as you know, I've talked about this quite a bit. I've done a lot of self-growth and emotional work and trauma work over the last 12 years. And I consider myself pretty, I'd say pretty steady. Obviously, life happens and things happen. And so I know that things aren't always going to be perfect. But when I start to get that feeling inside me, like, oh, things are going really well. And, I'm doing really good. The universe, spirit, God, whatever you want to call it, teaches me a lesson. And it taught me a massive lesson 2 weeks ago. So I think I had some awareness and some signs that were, given to me that I still had some work to do. And I noted them, but I don't think I gave them as much respect as I should have. And like I said, I've done so much work that typically I don't think that there are a lot of big things still hanging around for me. But as I have said before, and you'll probably hear me say many times again, that quote from my mentor where, the subconscious mind is the most powerful goal-achieving agency known to man. And my subconscious was probably, quote unquote, protecting me, keeping me where it thought my baseline should be, where, everything feels normal and comfortable. But the long and short of this story is that I went to this business retreat, and the retreat that I went to, we knew that we would be doing some self-growth work, but I had no idea how much it was going to be. Just to give you an idea, we probably did about, 75, 80% self-growth work, some emotional work. Even some people had some trauma work that they processed. And we ended up doing about 25%, just straight up business, work, where it was marketing coaching and things of that nature. And so as we were doing each of the, the classes or the speakers that we had, I was crying a lot. I knew that there was stuff I needed to work on, but I didn't know exactly what it was. And I kind of felt in limbo. And as the days went on, I was there for 4 days. I started to feel very frustrated, and I felt like I was very ungrounded. I was like something inside was coming up, and it was very big. And then the retreat actually ended, and there was a group of about 12 of us who ended up going into a nearby forest, and we went on a little hike, which was amazing because it felt really good. But at the very beginning, one of the other participants who does trauma healing came up to me and said, "Are you okay?" And I just started crying, and I'm like, "No, I'm not." She's like, "Do you mind if I do some work on you?" And so the first question she asked me was, how do you feel? What's holding you back right now? And the first thing that came to my mind was, I'm not good enough. And I just started bawling. And it was interesting because I have done a lot of work surrounding that, worthiness, feeling good enough. And I thought, because I've done a lot of, different trauma therapies and exercises, that I was good. But I think it wasn't an overarching, I'm not good enough. It was, I was not good enough in certain aspects of my life. And that was very powerful for me. And the I'm not good enough tends to be a story that we all have in some way, shape, or form. But like I said, I felt like I had overcome a lot of it. Like when I was little, I was a perfectionist, and I was always trying to, be the best or have straight A's. And that even went into college, and I would say my first jobs as well. I thought, and I know I've overcome that side, but for me, the current state of not being good enough was in my personal relationships. So more with my relationship with my husband, and maybe in our family, there were several dynamics that came up there. And I had known that those were things I needed to work on. And so it was really interesting how we can kind of dissect, that I'm not worthy or I'm not good enough statement into like, where in your life are you feeling that? So interestingly, that has been something I've been working on since I got home, but it really illustrates how incredibly powerful beliefs are, because as long as you have limiting beliefs, it's going to prevent you from moving to the places you want to go. So in this episode, we'll get into what beliefs actually are, the difference between beliefs and mindset, how limiting beliefs can sabotage even the strongest willpower. And we're going to do an exercise that will help you identify what your limiting beliefs are. Want to chat and get more personalized support? I'm offering podcast listeners a free 20-minute Thriving Mama check-in where we'll evaluate your physical, mental, and emotional health and provide useful resources to help you on your journey. You'll find that link in the show notes. So the word belief is defined as an acceptance that a statement is true or that something exists, or trust, faith, or confidence in someone or something. Good examples would be the belief in the value of hard work or gentle parenting, or I believe I'm intelligent or resilient, or things of that nature. One important distinction is that beliefs and mindset are different. And it's a key that people understand that difference, because when we're speaking, kind of in conversation or even colloquially, that is something I often hear people do, is they mix up what beliefs and mindset are. So they are obviously separate and distinct entities, but they're both aspects of your kind of like cognition and your cognitive framework. Beliefs refer to the specific convictions, ideas, or opinions that you hold about various aspects of your life and yourself. Things such as religion, politics, ethics, and personal values. Your beliefs can be influenced by cultural, familial, or personal experiences and often form the foundation for your decision-making and actions, or even inaction. In fact, many of the beliefs we hold are given to us by our parents between the ages of 0 to 6, and we grow up thinking that they're our own, but they're really not. And this is something that I think you've probably heard me speak about before, is like, our parents, I always kid around and say, gift us with this. And then as we grow more into ourselves, there becomes this dissonance inside that those beliefs may not resonate with who we truly are. And those are things that we need to get into and unpack. And beliefs can be rigid or flexible too. And you can be in a state where you're holding both empowering and limiting beliefs that are shaping your perspectives, behaviors, and your default operating mode, baseline from which you kind of operate and see the world. And so here I'm going to describe mindset so that you have a clear understanding of how mindset is different. Mindset is different in that it encompasses a broader and more overarching perspective that defines your approach to life and its challenges. It represents the overall attitude and orientation through which you interpret the world and respond to situations. And mindset is characterized by traits such as things like optimism, resilience, growth, or like a term called fixed orientation, which I don't love that one. It's basically just more like stagnation. You're not really moving. And so, like I said, beliefs can be limiting or empowering. And limiting beliefs have a very insidious power to sabotage even the most well-intentioned goals and aspirations, even the person who has the most strong willpower, because they are ingrained and affect us on a subconscious level. And that subconscious theme is something that will come up again and again, because that subconscious, thoughts, the subconscious patterns that we have, those are, where your default is and where you're going to view the world from unless you change it. And so the beliefs are there. I call them self-imposed mental shackles that convince you that you're incapable or undeserving of achieving your goals and objectives and desires in life. So when someone holds a limiting belief such as I'm not smart enough or I don't deserve success, it creates a negative narrative that can erode your self-confidence and your motivation. And as a result, you might hesitate to take action. You've got fear of failure, and you might not even pursue your goal altogether because of those limiting beliefs and fears. These self-imposed limitations can lead to self-fulfilling prophecies where your thoughts and beliefs become a significant obstacle to your success and growth. Over time, the repetition of these beliefs reinforces that negative thought pattern and making it increasingly difficult to overcome those challenges and setbacks. And this is due to something called the law of compounding. Essentially, the more you do or think something, the more it becomes part of you and your thoughts, which makes sense. It's becoming more fully ingrained inside you. And I want to give you an example of some limiting beliefs that you might have. So fear of success, fear of failure, fear you're not good enough, fear of not being loved or unlovable, fear of rejection. This one specifically tends to lead to avoiding relationships or repetitive people pleasing. The fear of greatness, that's one I see in a lot of people. I would say I have probably had that as well. The fear of being deserving or not worthy of. Another idea is only attractive people get good spouses or jobs. That's a common limiting belief that people have. Having negative attributes assigned to people being rich or people having abundance or seemingly lots of happiness. Thoughts that might come up are, rich people are all bad. Happy people are fake. Those are the types of things you might be hearing in that instance. Another belief might be others hold me back and they're the cause of my problems. That's victim mentality. And we are, in charge of ourselves and have our own agency. So that, victim mentality is a big one. That if you're trying to blame other people for what's happening to you, it really isn't them, it is you. And that's something that needs to be worked on. Another one is you can only be successful with long hours of hard work and no balance in your life. Again, that's not true. A lot of us put ourselves into those situations because of things we're doing, or we're not simplifying or looking for efficiencies or looking for help. There are lots of ways to overcome these. And the last one is another one that's pretty big and kind of speaks to when we were talking about that fixed orientation or things being kind of stagnant. It's the last one is there is only one right way. There's only one right way to do things. And obviously that's not true. There are infinite ways to accomplish many things. And so those are some really common examples of limiting beliefs. And obviously there are so many more. But this gives you a good idea and brings us to an exercise that I have all the moms I work with do to help them identify and bring awareness to the limiting beliefs that are holding them back. And so this exercise is this. I have them make a list of the limiting beliefs that they have and are aware of. And that's the key. You might not be aware of all of them right now, but the more you start doing this, the more that type of stuff comes into your awareness. If you have a negative thought, your brain will start looking for that and you can change those. So an easy way to pick up on these is when you think or say, I can't, I am or I am not, I do or I don't, I should or I shouldn't, or I have or I haven't. Those types of statements tend to really highlight what our belief systems are. You may have already identified some of these in your own life, but what I typically have people do is think about these. Take out a piece of paper, think about them, write down what the limiting belief is first, make a list of all those. And then I have you write down how it might be holding you back. So that's the first part. Write down what the limiting belief is. Write down how it might be holding you back. The next one is I want you to write out and then going along with that list, write out what the opposite empowering belief would be so that you can start transforming how you think. Because all it is simple shifts in how we're talking to ourselves in our mind and what we're saying out loud to the world. That is just, a slight energetic shift that starts getting you going in the right direction. And it can be very empowering. And so something that I always want to leave people with is you have the power and you can change your limiting beliefs and achieve all of the goals and desires that you have, but it requires consistent self-reflection and taking action on those beliefs. The first step, I would say, is what I recommended doing is doing that exercise by identifying them, listing them out, and then talking about what that empowering belief is, making that subtle shift. A great daily practice is to take a moment to reflect back on the day and see where you may have had some limiting thoughts or action. You could do this in a journal. You could do it on your phone. I actually prefer people to write it out because really more powerful from an energetic standpoint to write it out. And it's documented there on paper. Electronic devices, things can get deleted or misplaced. But if you have it written out in a journal, especially, it is there and it's something solid that you can see and you can track your growth. One of the amazing things about having a journal or tracking this type of growth work is that you can see how you've grown over time. That's something that I love to do is to go back and look and see where I was a month ago, last quarter of the year, even 1 year ago, 2 years ago, and see where I have come from and how much I've grown because we do change and grow every day. And so I wanted to leave you with this. I absolutely 100% believe that you can overcome these beliefs. And it's hard. It's, a lot of it is hard work, but you can do it. You can absolutely do it. And in the next episode, we're going to be talking about the one single belief that I see that holds moms back pretty consistently. It's absolutely the number one belief. And I don't think most people can't guess what it is. So it may or may not be surprising to you, but it'll be exciting when we cover that one. If you made it this far, I truly appreciate you. Remember, knowledge is just the beginning. Taking action is what truly sparks change. If you're overwhelmed and don't have enough energy to make it through the day, I invite you to book a free 20-minute coaching call with me. It's a no-obligation chat where we can discuss your health goals and how I might be able to help you achieve them. Visit the link in the episode description to book that call. Until next time, keep striving for wellness and remember, you have the power to not just survive, but thrive in motherhood.